and record. I am recording a series that is called the YE, or some people say Yay. I'm not exactly sure what he is saying, but it's about Kanye West, the artist formerly known as Kanye West. And the reason that I am recording this is because my office is we're doing a series on the Yeezy frenzy. If you are aware of what's happening in the media with Mr. Kanye West, or formerly Kanye West, and everything that is happening with him. So give me a second. I got to get my slides up here. I don't know what I just did with them. Okay, I got my slides. So here's what we're talking about. Kanye West actually had a contract, and that contract was a licensing agreement. At least part of it was a licensing agreement with Adidas. And that licensing agreement it's an agreement, it's a contract, and it's a branding contract for purposes of increasing the awareness of his brand. Now, why do people do licensing agreements? So first of all, licensing agreements are absolutely nothing new. If you think like Gucci and North Face, or you think Adidas also did a licensing agreement with Prada. So licensing agreements allow you to create a brand, a retail brand, especially in fashion, that you would not actually be able to do on your own for whatever reason, usually because it's very expensive to break into retail and, deal with all kinds of different vendors and manufacturers, especially if you're thinking of being a global company. So people like you and me, and Kanye, I suppose, or artist formerly known as Kanye, will have to find a licensor. So somebody who will take their brand, that's my brand in the background, my logo, my trademark. So they will take their brand, their logo, and they will go to a licensor and find out if that licensor will really, push their idea, push their brand in the media. So this is what Mr. Kanye West has done. And let me just get some terms correct here, because if you don't understand or start to confuse who the parties are, then it does just get confusing. Okay, so the person who has the idea or the brand, that person is the licensor. So let's say that's me. And I have this particular brand and I want to license it to a licensee. Okay, we got that much? I'm licensor. The other person on the other side or the other company, they are the licensee. The contract itself is called the license agreement. So the contract is a licensing agreement. I am the licensor. The other party that is in contract with me to take my brand and do something with it, they are the licensee. Okay, so what happens? So the licensee has the money, get the money, and they are going to infuse capital into the licensor's brand and logo and trademark ideas. And when we're talking about Ye, or the formerly known as Kanye West, I'm going to go back and forth because that's how I remember. But anyway, when you're talking about him, he put out the Yeezy shoe. He's put out like face coverings. He's put out clothing. It's baggy, but it's really, really hip for this new age Gen Z. I also think that it kind of looks like space clothing, right? So everybody's talking about space, and Jeff Bezos is going to space, and Elon Musk is going to space. So this is, this is the era that we're in. It also is kind of, the clothes look kind of down, like they're brown, but the idea is not to be so lofty, not to act like you have everything, and to be aware of the little person. So that's one of the reasons why I really like this Yeezy brand. So The licensing brand is what Kanye West, the licensor, then licensed. Okay. So this is why do you do this? You want to increase your visibility. You don't have enough money or enough funding to do it on your own. You might have money or funding to do it locally, but you don't necessarily have the money or the funding to do it on a global scale, to do it big, right? So he decided he was going to do it really, really big, and he totally did. He did that with Adidas. The other thing about licensing your trademark or your brand is you get money up front. Okay, so you don't actually have to wait until you sell these products. You will get this money up front, and then every time it's sold, you will get royalty payments. Now, if you don't know about royalty payments, when I was in insurance, I got royalty payments. That means if I sold you a policy, every single time you paid that policy, the company got a little bit and I got a little bit too. Right? So royalty payments are really, 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 really good. Same thing that happens whenever there's a dividend that, that is declared on a piece of stock. You get a little bit of that money, right? So that's fantastic. Hi, Brother Scott. Good to see you. So we're talking about licensing agreements in the contract with Adidas and Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West. Okay, so this is a good way to expose what you are doing and get other people internationally to know about you. Okay, so Kanye did this, and then Kanye decided that he was going to walk this tightrope, because when you have a licensing agreement, there are so many risks that are involved. And then you say, Demetrius, what are the risks that are involved? Okay, here's a couple. And here's what happened with him. So here's what he said. In a standard licensing agreement with a profit sharing model, then you license your trademark and your intellectual property. Adidas was responsible for manufacturing all of the products. So there were 164 active trademarks. I mean, in my opinion, like Brother Kanye is like brilliant, right? For 164 trademarks, which tells me something about business. If you have something very good and you start to branch it off, get that stuff trademarked right away, right? Get your trademarks out there, get this stuff licensed, okay? So 164 active trademarks. These are your words, your logos, your pictures, or some combination thereof. Here's some of them. Yeezy brand, the Yeezy, the Donda, the Yeezus, all these tennis shoes, all this clothing. And then Adidas said, yes, but we own the patent process. Okay, so Kanye owns the brand itself, the logos and things like that. But Adidas says, yeah, but the way that they're made, especially with the Yeezy slide, the way that they're made, we are going to own that. So you, in this licensing agreement, you got two things working, two things just juxtaposed, and they weren't quite working together. Incidentally, let me just tell you guys, I don't have a pair of these shoes, but I have now heard from 3 people that these Yeezy slides are hands down the most comfortable shoe ever. Okay. So, one of the lawyers has them here and she's like, look, I don't want to take them off ever. So, and one of my clients came in and he was wearing them and he got a pair for his kids. And he's like, look, Demetrius, no doubt about it. These are the most comfortable shoe. So Kanye is definitely onto something, but here's the problem. Here's the problem. This is a legal problem. This falls into my realm. There is a quality control issue. This is one of the risks. How are you going to control the quality of your product? So this is going to come to play. All of this is contractual, you all. So you have to decide, is it going to be a high quality product, or is it going to be okay if they just produce it in any way, right? Are you going to distribute, are you going to distribute locally, domestically, other states, or are you really going to go international? And then if you go international or local, wherever, what are the stores? Is it going to be like a Macy's? Is it going to be like a Walmart? I mean, you really have to decide what you want, because once you have that licensing agreement, that's it. It's out of your hands. The distribution is going to happen by the licensee, and you, the licensor, with the idea is you're just going to fall in line, right? So you better choose the right lawyer. So then you have to decide, do you want these physically sold? Do people have to come in? Is that part of your brand where people come in and they try them on and they're sold by how comfortable they are? Or is it like you actually have to have your brand sold online? Can you just push a button? Can they go on Amazon? Can they go on Sell Black? You know, where can these be sold? All of this upfront in your licensing agreement. And then do you want them to be able to be sold by retail or wholesale? Because remember, if you don't have that in the licensing agreement, then the licensee can decide exactly how they're going to sell your product, where they're going to sell it, the quality of your product, as well as if they will allow it to be sold wholesale or retail. Important, important. Here's the most important thing with the Yeezy frenzy. I call it the Yeezy frenzy. Here it is, the controversy. What if what you're selling becomes controversy like Ye's products did? He's controversy on his own, and he's always been, right? So it's not like Adidas thought, oh, we might be dealing with somebody who's not controversial. Like, that didn't happen. He's always been controversial. So being very, very clear on what you want your message to be, even though you're licensing it to somebody else, what is your message, and making it clear? Am I like standing for something, or am I not standing for something? What exactly am I doing here? So message to the public, thank you, but also your brand reputation. You got to think about where you're going with this, okay? What's going to happen in the future? And then what's going to be the value to the manufacturing companies after you deal with this one licensee, right? Because this licensee, you might, say you can sell it in this area, in this geographical location, but not in this one. So it might be exclusive or non-exclusive. All of that you're going to think about in the contract up front. It's like a lot, but if you don't, and if there's a damage to your reputation, you could dilute what your brand is. So this is part of what Adidas is saying. Look, even though, like, how you not know that Kanye is controversial, right? But Adidas is saying there was a dilution of our message in the public. There was a dilution in our brand reputation because we were dealing with Kanye. Okay, so then you start to think about termination clauses. Termination clauses, a lot of times people don't think about termination clauses in contracts until there's a problem, right? But it's already too late when there's a problem, because all we're going to do is go back and look at what you said in the beginning. So in the beginning was the word. No, in the beginning, when you write, it's really true, right? In the beginning really was the word, and where was God, and where, okay. But anyway, but once you write that contract down, those are the words that you're going to live by in that licensing agreement. So Adidas and Kanye had to live by what was written. So a termination clause is going to talk about how are we going to get out of this. When I talk about marriage, usually I don't do marriage law, domestic relations, but when I talk about marriage, I say, look, decide in the beginning what you're going to do when you get ready to get out. Because unfortunately, a lot of people getting divorced. Like, we're not getting a divorce. I see my baby on here. We're not getting divorced, but decide early. Decide how you're going to raise your kids. Decide what their religion is going to be. Decide if she gets the ring back. Decide where you're going to live. What is she really looking for? What are you looking for? Because if you don't decide those things, once you get in that marriage, look, it's supposed to be till death do us part. So I'm so tired of people like non-committal. Oh, I'm going to be with her. I'm going to be with him. I'm going to do this. I'm getting off of my topic. But what I'm saying is, the termination clause, think about it in the beginning when you're signing these licensing agreements. Actually, when you're signing any agreement, figure out if something goes wrong, how are you going to make that exit? I'm not sure that either of them really, really contemplated it, because if Adidas contemplated it, this would be smooth. If Kanye contemplated it, would be smooth too. except for maybe it's just to create controversy. So who knows? It's good for me to talk about the Yeezy frenzy. The other thing you want to talk about and think about and put down in writing is confidentiality. What is confidentiality? Don't talk about this. Okay. This part is off limits. You're not allowed to talk about it. You want to know exactly what you mean by the terms. If I say global in the contract, what do I mean? Do I mean you can only sell to Brazil or you can only sell in China? What do I mean? Because people think they know and understand concepts until it's the end. And then you really didn't know what the other person meant. So you take your time and you look through those terms. And then the law, I get this all the time. People are always like, oh, well, it's going to be in the state of Illinois, or it's going to be in the state of Georgia, or it's going to be an Australian contract. No, first of all, why do you want to go to court? The whole purpose of my purpose is to keep you out of court. So let's do like some arbitration, or let's decide that first we have to sit down and talk about it. Let's not say from the beginning we're going to go to court because court is going to tie up your money. It's going to tie up your time. You're going to be paying lawyers probably a lot to deal with something like this. Then what's the schedule, right? How often do I have to put out this product? And know what the schedule is. Like the schedule should be attached as exhibit A. And if it has to be 800 pages, let it be 800 pages. Because when you get those mortgages, you ever seen those mortgages? They spell out exactly when you're going to pay and how much and how it increases, what monthly or annually, right? And then what's going to happen at the end when rates go up. They spell it out and you're sitting there, because I know as a lawyer, I'm sitting there going through it like, oh, boo, you better know. In the 10th year, this stuff is about to double. So think about your schedules. Think about all of the exhibits. If you know that you want a softer shoe for children, or once there's another generation, you're going to think about an upgrade, put that stuff in the contract. And then not only having the schedule, but having a complete report. I want to know if we said 800 shoes were going to go to Algeria in the 8th year, did they really go? Who's in charge of it? Show me the report. So in the contract, it's in there that you have to show the report, and these are the things that have to be in there. You just got to be a real savvy business owner. And then compliance. Who is responsible for compliance? Now, as the Teal firms, we write compliance manuals. Compliance manuals, I'm looking at everybody in the chain, in the supply chain. I want to know who writes the contract, who talks to the salespeople, who goes out, where do they go, how did it get there, who's it being sold to, here's the end user. So you want to follow the entire thing for compliance. Incidentally, if you are doing an international contract, you got to know who the end supplier is, because especially as a United States citizen, you are a United States citizen no matter where you go, okay? Unless you denounce your citizenship. You are going to pay taxes no matter where your products are sold, and your businesses will pay taxes, as well as if you wind up selling something to Iran and you didn't know, or somebody who's in Iran who's going to sell it to somebody in Iran, somebody's here who's going to whatever, you are not allowed to do it. And there are other things that have to do with compliance, that it doesn't matter that you say, oh, I didn't know. Well, sorry, we see you in jail, and you can be dealing with a defense lawyer in jail. But that's okay, because I practice federal defense law, so I'll help you there too. But no, you're not going to go to jail. My point is, you could go to jail, okay? If you are dealing with somebody who is on the do not sell to list. It's just really that serious. Probably not for fashion, but if you have like ammunition, if you have technology that could be used for ammunition, or anything else that could help a country, really they're worried about war. So anything that could help someone else to come against the United States is like, off list. Any private organizations, companies is not allowed to sell to them. Another story. Okay. If there's anything that I can do to help you with these contracts, these licensing contracts, to make sure that your trademarks are filed and that they are completely prosecuted, because no reason to have trademarks if you're not going to have companies that look after you and make sure no one else is using those trademarks. Okay. All right. So that's my Yeezy frenzy. I also got some questions today Okay, this is interesting. I got some questions that had to do with north, south, east, and west. I know that's really funny. But when you are in a deposition, one of the things that they will ask you in any kind of court cases, they will say, like, how far was it? How, where were you when the accident happened? How far was she when she saw it? And some people are just like, what, I'm supposed to know the distance? I'm sorry, you guys. I go through this with my 10-year-old. You have to know distance. And if you don't know distance, start practicing distance. Like it really is, can be foot, right? So you practice knowing how far away. I think police are excellent at this. Police always know how far away it was, or how close were you, or what was your radius. They know that kind of stuff. But when you're in a court of law, they will ask you distance and they really expect for you to know. But what do? If you really don't know, then you say, oh, how, whatever your reference is, you can say, well, if I were laying down, then it would be 4 of me. And that's going to give some concrete example of what the distance was or how far away it was. Okay. And then someone asked me about what happens when, what was it? Oh, what happens if someone does not show up to court? So you get, I guess, I think what this is, you get like some kind of subpoena and you don't go. Well, subpoena power means I have the right in this lawsuit to make you come. Now you can plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. You can plead the fifth, but you do need to show up, because if you show up and if you don't show up and you are under subpoena, it means that I can ask for an order to attach your body or the documents that I need and bring you to court. So I wouldn't ignore that stuff. If I got a subpoena to come to court to be a witness and I really, I really don't know, or I really don't feel like being bothered, I would call the lawyer and tell them, look, I really didn't see it. If you really didn't see it, we don't want you there anyway, because we're trying to look for people that can really help our case. So if you didn't see it, but if you don't want to go, or your child has a doctor's appointment or whatever, I would just let them know and they can reschedule you. So I got those 2 questions that have to do with trials and cases. And then I got the Yinzy Frenzy. So let me tell you this, and let me reset the room. So under the Teal firms that I started in 2009, we do international contracts, intellectual property, as well as compliance issues that have to do with intellectual property and international law. So if there's anything that I can do that can help you, 2 products that I put out. Well, one is this series on the Yeezy Frenzy. They are being posted on LinkedIn as well as YouTube. So don't forget to go there and subscribe and listen to them, because they're good. We also are putting out a podcast. We're doing 5 different segments on the Yeezy Frenzy. Next week, I will be talking about the moral contract clauses, because this is where I really think that Adidas came out strong against Kanye. So I'll be looking at those clauses and giving you some tips on them, as well as talking about the other questions that come in. If you have a question, you can send that to admin, ADMIN, at tealfirms, TEILFIRMS.com. I will answer those live. The other thing is, our new book is out. It is all on intellectual property, your trademarks, your copyrights, your patents. And what do I do in this book? Because I know people don't feel like reading. You can get it on Amazon, but you can also get excerpts on tealfirms.com. So everything that I learned about this stuff, I just wrote it down. So problems, I gave you tips on how to get out of them. I explained terms, and it's just to help you in your business to grow and to go further. Why? Because when you win, Teal Firms wins too. So we want you to win. We want to learn, we want to grow with you as you grow. So go to the website, get the free stuff that we have, get the book. I think it's $29.99 on Amazon. Check out the Yeezy Frenzy if you're following this. And send me any questions that you have so you don't have to go make an appointment and see a lawyer. You can just come and get free advice. Oh, with that, it's almost 8 o'clock. I'm gonna go home. I will see you next Monday, and I want you to know that I love you. I forgot to tell you guys this. So one of my very good clients, her mom died today, and well, it's two sisters that I know, but her mom passed, and man, that made me realize how short life is, how important life is. So tell somebody that you love them, the people that you care about. Don't wait. Buy flowers now, they would say, but call them up and just be like, you know what? I love you. Okay. All righty. Take care, and I will see you next Monday. Bye. Thanks for watching.